do you have a favorite weapon pairing, or has it
Great axe hammer.
changed since since you started designing the game a while ago?
I was a big great axe hammer sword user.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, dude! I knew it! I knew it!
So, but that recently the meta is shifting a little bit.
Oh my god! And he fought him rerolls! He fought him rerolls! Look at his face! He's just re-rolling from the nerfs. The own nerfs that he put out, he re-rolls. No way. Balance and tuning. We're back.
There's players who are talking about the fire staff and maybe the ice gauntlet being underpowered. Do you agree, or?
Oh, dude, they read my forum post. They read it.
I think they're in a really close place. There was some pretty significant changes to them recently. And
I agree with that.
Super well received, but they're a lot closer to the other weapons than they used to be. We are looking at a few things in the very near future that are going to amp them up just a little more, in particular for the fire staff. We're looking at the fire mage side of the tree to do some little bit buffs in there. And the ice gauntlet, we're making sure to add a little more CC in because I think we accidentally nerfed a little too far in there.
Oh, baby, let's go! Yeah! All right, I'm just going to listen to that again. We're just going to listen to that again.
And the ice gauntlet, we're making sure to add a little more CC in because I think we accidentally nerfed a little too far in their CC abilities.
Right.
We nerfed them too far on their CC abilities. I think this is probably on a video I made. I literally said, I compared the Ice Gauntlet CC to every other weapon in the entire game, and Ice Gauntlet had the least amount of CC out of any weapon, pretty much, besides Life Staff and Fire Staff, I think, were the only other two. And it's just like, bro, what is going on? It's literally an Ice Gauntlet. Why is there more CC on every other weapon? So, all right, you guys want to listen to that one more time? She's pissed. Yeah, she's pissed, dude. She's pissed. All right, hold on. Let's listen to that one more time.
And the ice gauntlet, we're making sure to add a little more CC in because I think we accidentally nerfed a little too far in their CC abilities.
Right. Sorry. Sometimes you'll see people, in the forums or on Reddit or what have you, saying like, why not just buff all of the weapons until they're the same level?
Oh, sometimes you'll see people. That's me. Hello. Yep. Yeah, hello there. Yep, hi. My name is Josh.
Instead of...
But that's cool, though, because they read the forum posts. I put a lot of effort into writing those and making the videos, and it's cool they get to watch them. Like, these guys seem cool. I'm happy they're taking the time to read it and reply to it and like sitting down at a table like this. Like, that's cool.
Nerfing particular ones.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and just so he's asking a really good question here, and I want to see the reply.
Sometimes you'll see people, in the forums or on Reddit or what have you, saying like, why not just buff all of the weapons until they're the same level instead of nerfing particular ones?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think with our weapons, we do want them all to be around the same level, obviously, and for a lot of our updates, we have been buffing unused abilities or upgrades that aren't getting usage. But some of the overpowered ones, we just had to bring back down into a little bit of a tighter control, because otherwise it just kind of escalates to a point where at some point none of the enemies will be tough for you anymore, right? Like they're just
and who wants that?
Yeah, you want a little bit of challenge.
Who wants none of the enemies being tough?
You want challenge in the game.
Yeah.
And I think, so we want to try to keep it in a bracketed place, and I think with anything that's not being used, we're always looking at how can we make them better for the player. We want diversity in our builds. We don't want everybody using the same tree. We don't want everybody using the same 3 abilities. So we want to make sure that's occurring for all our weapons.
And it sounds like this is an ever-evolving process, where we collect feedback from the players, test, iterate.
So I mean, the kind of the answer was more of like a PVE related answer, right? Like if you buff every weapon, without any nerfs, PVE becomes way too easy. So I guess that's a pretty good answer. I must admit that like if you keep buffing, and then there's like every weapon's just fucking insane, then PVE becomes a joke. Like from my perspective, I'm a PvPer. So like for me, I want every weapon to feel really insane. And when you're fighting other players, every weapon, no matter which one you choose, feels insane. But I don't want a weapon to feel clunky or like not very effective. and I don't really want a weapon to feel just like it doesn't have something that they can press and it just feels really impactful and powerful. Because ultimately, that's what we want as PvPers. Like, we want to be able to feel like we're bringing something to the table, pressing a button that feels like really amazing, incredible to press in the specific use case where it's supposed to be pressed, right? Because then you're gonna have impact, and that is like a this positive feedback loop. Like, you get a little bit of dopamine, it's exciting, and you want to do that again, right? So I mean, ultimately, I think that's what we want as a PvP player. But I can see the counter argument of like, okay, well, if we keep buffing everything forever, then it's gonna mess up PvE. And I can kind of understand why, like, in the past, Blizzard for like Arena and WoW has put in stats like PvP power or resilience, so they can kind of tune back. You know, if players are getting too strong or too weak in PvP, they can tune PvP different than PvE, and maybe that's what New World needs. Because at the end of the day, if the weapons are feeling really strong in PvE but they're really shitty in PvP, then there needs to be another knob twisted or turned, right? And I think, like, you can't necessarily be afraid of changing the game to be great in PvP if it's going to impact PvE and vice versa. There needs to be two different ways that you can tune these things. And I don't know, that's probably, to be fair and to be honest, since New World is only 2.5 months old, this is probably something that they'll work on like 6 months, a year, maybe even 2 years down the road of like, okay, we have the game in a position that we're actually excited about, but we want to be able to fine tune these things a bit deeper. Let's add in, you know, a system of PvP power or resilience, or more actively fine tune these things. And maybe to give them some benefit of the doubt, I think that maybe I'm a bit harsh because I have had so much MMO experience in the past that, like, I expect there to be fine tuning, and it's a brand new freaking game, so there's just not. But for me, it feels really obvious that there's not fine tuning, so it kind of sucks sometimes. But yeah, I also want to add that buffing something doesn't mean, like, my philosophy is generally buff the things that are weak instead of nerfing the things that are strong. That doesn't mean you never nerf something, right? That means you usually buff the things that are underperforming and then keeping the things that are strong the same. But if something is way overperforming, that means tweaking it, you know, to make it a little bit worse. And the feedback of, like, my forum post and the YouTube video where I talked about this was like, there was 17 nerfs to the fire stuff and the ice gauntlet. I wasn't saying not to nerf it at all. I was saying instead of 17 nerfs, let's start with 2. You know, let's start with 2 nerfs. Even this most recent Great Axe nerf, they nerfed Reap, Bloodlust, the lunge from the Great Axe itself on the light attacks, and maybe one more thing. And, like, even on the Great Axe, I feel like that's just too many nerfs. Like, let's just start with just the lunge nerf, right? Like, with the ice gauntlet, let's start with just the heavy freeze nerf, right? Like, you just start with one nerf and then buffs, and then see where that leaves things. And then from there, if it needs more nerfs, then one more nerf. So my general overarching point or theme is 1 nerf, maybe 2. 17, no, right? That, like, it's just too much of a, like, it feels shitty for the player to be super strong and then to just take a nosedive in power. It just sucks. And I think the devs can understand that, because the nosedive in power, like, they talked about that with, like, okay, we don't want people going from 600 GS to 520 in January when the patch comes out, right? Like, I guess my point being, if you do want to nerf things, I'm not saying don't nerf. I'm just saying be careful with nerfs. Like, do a lot of buffs, and when it comes to nerfing, 1 nerf, maybe 2. Like, more than 10 nerfs at the same time is just silly. Like, 1 nerf, maybe 2, wait a week. 1 nerf, maybe 2, wait a week, you know, with some buffs. And so I'm not saying don't nerf. I'm just saying when you do nerf, never nerf 10 things at once. It's just silly. I like the reply, but I wanted to, like, counter reply to keep this kind of discussion going. I'm sure this will end up on YouTube, and I think that's good to just get that out there. Nice. Well, dude, I'm excited. I'm excited, guys. The ice gauntlet and the fire staff, like, they confirmed basically that they understand they nerfed them too hard and that they're coming back up. So let's freaking go.
All right, so this next segment is going to be all about weapons in New World. And both of these gentlemen are heavily involved in how the weapons work, adding new weapons, tweaking the weapons we currently have. So this question would be for you, Dave. You know, what do you think about when you are coming up with a new weapon, or what weapon should be introduced next?
There's a couple things. I think first, we always want to introduce weapons that bring new play styles to the game, right? Like, so something that really changes up the gameplay. Like with the Void Gauntlet, our most recently introduced weapon, we really wanted to bring in this idea of debuffing and sort of a counter to some healing, and debuffing as a different play style. So definitely look in with each weapon to bring in something new that changes up gameplay. The second thing we look at is sort of trying to fill gaps, right? Like we heard loud and clear from healers, hey, what do I use with my life staff? And I think
The Void Gauntlet,
the Void Gauntlet was like a complement to that. Like those two weapons pair really well together. So also just trying to fill gaps like that.
Okay, and speaking of like weapons kind of pairing together, can you talk about the blunderbuss and how it might be different from the musket?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about it.
Yeah.
So the blunderbuss, a really exciting new weapon we'll be coming out with pretty soon here. And
Ooh, pretty
When you
soon.
think of the musket, it's a little more of a strategic weapon. It's a longer range, a little lower rate of fire, all those type of things. But when you get to the blunderbuss, you're going to think more excitement, more explosion, a little more chaotic, I would call it. There's some navigational tools on it, which are really exciting.
Wow.
And a little more of a run and gun style. So
Wow.
different in pace for this one in comparison to the musket. And it's going to be a little more short to mid-range. And also, I think it's going to pair really, really nicely with some melee weapons. So. And maybe even some staffs. So it's going to be an interesting weapon.
He said maybe some staff. So that's intellect and strength? It's not going to be dex, is it? Maybe it's intellect and dex? Dude, if it's int, what if I run like blunderbuss and fire staffers? Like, dude, that'd be sick.
Of different uses.
Is that a hint on what it scales based on?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that yet.
All right.
So he says it's going to pair well with some melee weapons and maybe staves. So to me, it seems like it might be int strength. It seems like int dex would make more sense, but he didn't say it would go well with like maybe what they don't want is someone using like blunderbuss and a musket. So maybe they're making it int strength just to make it so people play it with either a staff or a melee weapon versus dex in. I don't know, we'll see.
Speaking of weapons that are heavily requested and talked about by the community, the greatsword. Can you tell me anything about it?
We are working on a great sword. I think we've heard it. I think it's going to be an awesome weapon. We talked about wanting to change up gameplay with each weapon.
That's
I
exciting,
don't want to
dude.
give away too much yet about the greatsword, but I think it'll have this concept of stance switching and like having different modes within the weapon that I think will be really special and bring something new to the table.
Okay. I mean, that sounds great because people are knocking down our doors for that great sword. Another thing people are also asking about is daggers. Is that something coming down the road, or?
You know, daggers are definitely a crowd favorite. We have a lot of different weapons on our table that we're looking at to make after the greatsword. And I think it's definitely at the table. I don't think it's
a big table.
It's a pretty large table with a lot of different weapons on it, and I think it's one that is near the front, but it's not quite there yet.
Okay. Okay.
So there might be more. So it sounds like it's gonna be blunderbuss, greatsword, and then maybe something else, and then daggers. It sounds like what it'll be, or maybe blunderbuss, greatsword, daggers.
I'll take that as an answer. And another one of the last questions that we see just asked constantly is, when can I use a shield and another single-handed weapon?
That one hasn't made the table yet, and I just want to be a little.
That one's still outside.
Well, okay, so just to answer his question, it's called sword and shield. Like the weapon itself is called sword and shield. It's not called hatchet and shield, or like it's the weapon is literally called sword and shield. So you either wear a sword and shield or not. It's not like a shield you compare with a hatchet, or a shield you compare with a dagger, or a shield what you compare with a rapier or something. It's not like, it's literally sword and shield. So I don't know, we'll see. Maybe they'll add a mason shield. Yeah, I don't know.
Knocking on the door.
It's trying to get a seat at the table, and it's something we really want to do, but it's actually a really large endeavor for us to accomplish this.
Makes sense.
And we want to focus on filling in the other play spaces with the other weapons first before we go over to that area.
Okay, all right. So it's knocking on the door,
knocking
but we hear the feedback.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think we wouldn't do, like, it's going to take us a while to really build out a system where you could flexibly interchange weapons like that. But like creating another weapon that does pair with the shield, sort of like sword and
A mason shield.
like making a specific pairing, is something that is not on the table yet, so to speak, but,
Right.
but could be sooner.
Okay. Do you have a favorite weapon pairing, or has it
Great axe hammer.
changed since
Well-
since you started designing the game a while ago?
I was a big great axe hammer sword user.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, dude! I knew it! I knew it!
So, but that recently the meta is shifting a little bit.
Oh my god! And he fought him rerolls! He fought him rerolls! Look at his face! He's just re-rolling from the nerfs! The own nerfs that he put out, he re-rolls! No way!
It's cool in a game, so looking for my new pairing now.
Looking for my new pairing! He's fought him, bro! He's fought him! Oh, he's a great ex-fought-him-er! Oh no!
Yeah, I used sword and shield and great axe, and added in the warhammer and great axe, and now I'm actually doing warhammer and arrow. I just like it.
Oh my gosh! Another great axe hammer player that's swapping off the great axe after the nerfs. Oh, the 2 for 2. We need some mages up there. What's going on? Unbelievable. That's why we're getting the changes we're seeing. 2 for 2? Oh.
Bow and arrow now. Yeah, I always run sword and shield and great axe, and added in the warhammer and great axe, and now I'm actually doing warhammer and arrow. I just like the bow and arrow now. So.
We watch like a ton of streams.
He just likes the bow and arrow. It's not that bow is meta now. And they just happen to previously like the great axe hammer. Okay. No judgment. I'm just saying.
A lot of content creators. We play in game with all these folks. Has there been anything that like surprised you in the way people are pairing weapons or kind of their build?
Maybe not a pairing, but one of the things that I loved was some of the creative uses of the Ice Gauntlet, like the sneak up PvP moves, like we see people hiding behind a bush and like see a big PvP mob come in, and then they like jump out of the bush and put Blizzard and all these things on and sort of like melt the whole group.
It's not called Blizzard. It's called Ice Storm.
That was super cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I really enjoyed was people just playing around and making their own paladin build. That was something we actually had not really thought about when we were making all these updates to our weapons and everything. And when we first saw it, I was like, this is amazing. It might have been a little overpowered for the people playing against it, so we might have made a little changes there. But overall, we just love the fact that people can kind of go in there and make their own class. And I think that's just an amazing thing.
Yeah, I mean, what's been really cool, like having worked on New World for so long, like the game now belongs to everybody else, right? And we're kind of just witnessing how they're engaging with it. Before it's been, kind of theory crafting and wondering how people are going to use the game at scale. So it's fascinating to watch. And I think that's going to motivate, future tweaks and balances and improvements.
Yeah, for sure. I love like checking the web and like finding better builds
Right.
for weapons that I've worked on. It's like, wow, they thought of something I didn't. Like, it's super cool.
It's amazing. I love watching the streamers and especially the PvP streamers. And watching how
Oh, wait, what's his name? Is his name Dan? I think his name is Dan. Hello, Dan, if you're watching. Big fan. No, that's Dan may or may. Oh, Dave. It's Dave. Is it Dave? I didn't mean to be harsh. I was just trying to be funny. Is Dave in here? Type 1 in the chat if your name is Dave. If you're this guy, we love you, Dave. No, real talk, Dave. I know I was giving you some shit, but I think these are some really good conversations and really good answers to a lot of these questions.
Awesome. All right, well, thanks for joining us. Next, we are going to be talking about endgame content.
Yeah, no, real talk though. I think that's cool. They like talked about a lot of these things. I don't know. I'm excited about a lot of these things. It's cool we're getting like their perspective and having this just like open discussion about it. And it's cool that there's like some humility, and like, I'm just gonna be real, Dan or Dave, whatever his name is, or both these guys, like, dude, they have tough jobs. Like, this is the job that like, it's just hard, because like I said earlier, man, like everyone's whining at you that like their weapon's too strong or too weak or too this or too that, and you're just trying to have the best experience for the player. So like, I have some empathy there of like, man, that's probably just a hard one. You know what I mean?
With this update, I think that expeditions become a really great source for leveling your expertise. In an expedition, you get a guaranteed random expertise drop when you defeat an expedition boss. Mm-hmm. You're also going to be opening elite chests, which have the possibility to reward you with obsidian gypsum. And you also...
Wait, elite chests have a chance to reward obsidian gypsum? I've done 2 days in a row of getting all the elite chests, and I've never had an obsidian gypsum drop off an elite chest. He's talking about expeditions. I did an expedition as well. I don't know.
Also get specific gypsum from doing the expedition itself. So if you're completing these dungeon runs, that gives you almost 3 opportunities per the time invested in that dungeon, that expedition run. Mm-hmm. To
so like, this is one of the issues I was having today, is like exactly what he's saying. You can do the topaz, obsidian, and then one other one. I can't remember the exact color. You can do like 3 different ones to gypsum cast with one expedition, whereas in PvP, so that's PvE. In PvP, you have Outpost Rush, and you can do it one time. Like, that's kind of rough. You know what I mean? Like, as a PvPer, all I want to do is PvP. Like, they talked about how crafters get to do what they want, is progress through the game by crafting. They don't have to do the watermark system or the expertise system at all. But as a PvPer, I have one way to get 1 gypsum per day. The other 7 methods are through PvE. That kind of feels a little bad. I don't really necessarily know a solution, but there just seems like a lot of ways to do it through PvE, and there's like one way through PvP. I just think as a PvP player, it would be cool if I could like, get one. I guess there's only really outposts. I mean, they should maybe drop for sure from wars. There should maybe be a war one. When they add small scale PvP, there probably should be a small scale PvP one. Maybe there's just not enough systems yet to allow for that, but it just feels like getting 10 kills out in the world should be one, maybe, right? Getting 10 kills out in the world should be a gypsum cast. Or I was going to say like doing like 10 or 20 duels or something, but people would probably just abuse that. Faction quests or pushing influence could be one. Taking a fort or taking 3 forts could be one. You know what I mean? Like if you took 3 forts, that could be a gypsum cast. And some days that could be easy, but some days that could be really hard. Anyway, if there was multiple different ways for PvPers to actually get gypsum to upgrade expertise, I think I would love this system, because I could just play the game in the way I would already play it and then get rewarded and level up through it. But what sucks for a player like me is, of course I don't want to be behind. I want to level up all my expertise to 590 for everything in the game. So in order to not be behind, I have to do an expedition, which I normally don't want to do. Then I have to close portals for an hour, which I normally don't want to do. And then I have to do, the topaz one and kill mobs 55 plus, which I normally don't want to do. And then I still should probably do my elite chest run, which I don't want to do. And then, I need to do my crafting skill, which I don't normally want to do. So basically, all of a sudden, I have like 2, 3, 4, 5 hours of tasks that I don't really want to do just because I want to PvP and get best in slot. So it is this thing where like as a PvPer, it does kind of suck. I'm not. It's a new system, and I'm there's definitely a lot of room for improvement. But as a new player, a new player, you're gonna be super far behind, and as a new player that's a PvPer, you're basically gonna be stuck in PvE for like a month or 2. Which also kind of sucks. So, yeah. Cool. That was dope. I mean, I'm happy to just see the time investment.
How I lost my best friend in WoW. A lot of
Sag. Yeah, I mean, it's exciting to see them take the time to just like put all that out there, and I feel like a little bit more confident moving forward. I can't lie, I'm a little excited that they acknowledged that Fire Staff and Ice Gauntlet are a little bit weaker than they should be, and that they're gonna put more CC back into the Ice Gauntlet, probably like it should have, and put some, you know, pack a punch back in the Fire Staff, probably more like it should have. And that's exciting. It's exciting to see, exciting to hear.